Welcome to Tuckles Gaming and another guide on Diablo 4 on the upcoming Season 4, Loot Reborn. So this build is based off of a Frost Nova Hydra build that utilizes uh, lucky hit chance on my Hydras to cast Frost Novas. And every time I freeze an enemy, it creates a ice shard, or conjures an ice shard as well. So it works very well together. And with the new Season 4 update, you're going to be able to have +1 base Hydras now. So now with the legendary, you can have up to 3 Hydras now. It's honestly a huge buff for this build. So I'm just gonna find a pack of monsters so that you can see the proc rate of the Frost Novas. As you can tell, it has a pretty high proc rate already, and with that extra Hydra next season, it's going to significantly improve the build exponentially. So with that extra 5-headed Hydra now, you can see much more procs now. So now with Mystical Frost Nova guarantees vulnerable. Increase to 6 seconds against bosses. That's really important for part of my rotation here. So we're going to go into skills now. And we have a basic Flickering Frostbolt gives vulnerable. Vulnerable is very important. You'll see why. Next we go into max ice shards. Every 5 ice shards makes vulnerable. Once again, super important. Ice shards getting a 10% ricochet chance buff and a 16% damage buff, so that's good. The enchantment on flame shields being completely changed, but I didn't use it in the first place, so I just use rank 1 flame shield, rank 1 ice armor, and then we go enhanced ice armor, which is also getting a 5% mana regeneration boost. And I think this is getting completely reworked to damage while frozen increase, which is going to be huge. We go into the benefits of Frost Nova because the Hydras gain the talent bonuses of Frost Nova enchantment. So it's good to even just spend those 3 talent points so that you can get the vulnerable chance, which I will go into here soon. Once again, just rank 1 Hydra. Don't really need to pump it. it's the proc rates for me that's what it's for, but everything else is just bonus. So yeah, we get we stack lucky hit chance, and we go into mana shield for damage reduction, and then we go into the passives here. This build is very passive heavy because it relies on frozen damage and vulnerable damage. That being said, all of my frost skills have 15% chance to instantly freeze the target, and then my barriers have shield duration increase. And we go into Frigid Breeze. This is where the build really comes together. You go cold damage against vulnerable enemies, has a 20% chance to generate 15 mana. So that includes every single shard of ice shard. So if you get lucky, you can pretty much fill your resource bar with this talent. Then lastly, we go for Deep Freeze, which, you know, it's another shield survival, great for hardcore. And then Avalanche Keystone. And so you have 2 defensive abilities plus an ultimate defensive ability. Your Spender, which is Ice Shards, and your Controller, which is Hydra. So, next we're gonna go into Legendary Powers, and I'll also keep all of this down in the description below, so that you can visit the build that I made on the Diablo 4 character planner that I used. And it has all the stat modifiers for Season 4 already, so that you can follow my build as well if you wanted to do that. So, go, while not healthy and hit a magical bubble, immune bubble. We get the taking direct damage, has a 2 to 6% chance to reset your defensive skill. You deal more damage to frozen enemies. Casting ice armor makes you unstoppable. Your lucky hit chance is increased by 10 to 20% while having a barrier active. Avalanche applies to an additional cast. So the Avalanche Keystone allows me to cast a second same spell a second time. So instead of casting it once, it would cast it again twice. +1 Hydra. This is how next season you'll have +3 Hydras, and your duration increase is up to 36%. Each head has a 4% chance to lucky hit, and while you lucky hit, you have a 35% chance to cast a Frost Nova. So that's 20% per cluster of Hydras, 60% for all 3. And then we get vulnerable damage while I have a barrier active. And then Talrash's Amulet, which, because I have Hydras always actively shooting, I always gain fire damage, or increase for the fire damage, and then increase for the frost damage. So that's up to 30%. And then once I am able to incorporate lightning damage to my build, that'll be another 15%. The big DPS increase. And then lastly, we get Ice Shards, legendary. So now for stat modifiers, we want lucky hit chance, barrier generation, max life, frozen damage, cold damage, vulnerable damage, damage reduction, ice shards. Yeah, that's about it. And then into the Paragon tree, I will quickly go here. So this will also be in the description, but give you a quick rundown of the Paragon tree that I'm using. So the first one I get is Enchantment Master to get my enchantment to 20% buff. This applies to the Frost Nova enchant, so with the buff next patch, it'll be about 45% chance, up from 36%. Uh, you want to focus on survival talents for hardcore earlier on, especially with the removal of Elixir of Death Evasion. Go into bonus damage to vulnerable enemies and or damage to vulnerable enemies. Stack that vulnerable damage. Suddenly your ice shards will be doing insane amounts of damage. Yeah, that's my build. Hopefully you like the build. Make sure to follow me on Twitch TV, Tuckles Gaming, and follow my YouTube channel, Tuckles Gaming, all one word. And thanks for tuning in and checking in my build. Have a good day. Enjoy Season 4.